many options available, it might be a little hard to figure out which is the iPad that is right for you. I will tell you my opinions on the different models, how I've been using them, and what I think of them. Hopefully, by the end of this video, you'll get a better idea of what each model is capable of, what it is best used for, and maybe that will help you make your decision. I just want to say there's no wrong answer, really. Any iPad that you get is going to make you happy. Anything that you see me doing in my videos, you will be able to do using any of the current models. Any iPad is a great piece of equipment, and they all work great. If you are new around here, hello, my name is Isa and welcome to my channel PrintStick. I'm always sharing interesting tips and tutorials and tricks and things that you can do on iPad to be better organized, more creative, and make the most of it. If that sounds good, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap on the bell so you know when there's a new video out. Before I show you the different models, I want to mention that storage is a very important part of your decision. I basically have two recommendations. If you are going to be editing video or creating multimedia content, I would say you should be comfortable enough with 256 gigs, and you can also use iCloud in case you need more. If you don't plan to be spending a lot of time on your iPad, then maybe 64 gigs is enough. But if you find an older iPad that has less than 64 gigas, I would say maybe that is too little. iPad has amazing apps, and even if you don't know them, you will probably discover them once you get the iPad, and it's better to have extra storage so you can play comfortably. We are going to start with the regular iPad, which is the entry level of iPads. It's gonna be the most affordable one. It's the most basic model. I know people that are using this iPad and they're doing wonderful things such as digital art. They use it every single day for their daily work tasks, and there's no complaints. This is a great iPad. It'll do everything you need to do: browse the internet, consume content, watch videos, YouTube, Netflix, do emails. If you want to use your iPad mostly for digital planning, the regular iPad is perfect. Even this entry level of iPad is Apple Pencil compatible. iPad and so many of its apps are designed to work alongside the Apple Pencil, so I highly recommend you get it as well, which will be another thing to consider in your budget when shopping for an iPad. If you are a content creator of any kind, maybe you want to step up from the regular iPad, but if you're not creating any multimedia content, I think that you can get away with using the regular iPad. The one con that I have against the regular iPad is that it's compatible with Apple Pencil 1. The pencil itself works amazingly. It works just as well as the Apple Pencil 2. This means that it's super accurate. You can write with it, you can draw with it. I feel like the iPad Pros are a little bit more responsive when you're using the pencil, but it's really not noticeable unless you're using them side by side, so there's no real difference. The fact that you can use it on the regular iPad is amazing. But one thing I really don't like is the way it charges. So you have to plug the back of the pencil into the iPad's charging port, and that is super odd. I never had a problem with it like breaking or anything. I just felt so odd having to do this. And they do include, or they used to include, an adapter, so you can use a wire to charge it as well. But I never use that because I always have my iPad with my pencil, and actually this sleeve that you see here is magnetic, so I could actually attach this pencil to the iPad. So I kept them together. I didn't carry around the little adapter. So that's the one part that I don't like about any iPad that is compatible with Apple Pencil 1. A big recommendation that I do have is that any iPad that you get should be Apple Pencil compatible, so you can really take advantage of the iPad. The first iPad I ever got was an iPad Pro 2017, and it was compatible with the Apple Pencil 1. The Apple Pencil 2 did not exist at the time, so I got to use this one for a good amount of time, and even if it's weird to plug it, really it's not a big deal. I do like the fact that with the Apple Pencil 2 you pretty much never run out of battery, because the way you keep it is by attaching it to the side of the iPad, and by doing that you're charging it. So I've never really run out of battery because it's always attached to the iPad charging. Moving on to the next iPad, now we are going to talk about iPad Air. This is a really special model that Apple released because it looks just like a Pro. I actually have an iPad Pro 11 inches, and even I've got confused when I have them both side by side, realizing which is which, because they look so much alike. They have a full screen, they have this thin black edge around it. They look pretty much the same. So that's pretty cool. You get this Pro look, but it's a lot more affordable than a Pro. The screen size is almost the same as the smaller iPad Pro, so that's a big plus as well in my opinion, and you can also choose very cute colors. Now, I was really excited about the new colors when the iPad Air started releasing colors, but in reality it's very irrelevant because most likely you should use a case with your iPad, and if you do that, then you will be looking at the case, not so much at the color. And even if you get a clear case, in the end, I feel like it doesn't really matter what color of iPad you choose. It matters more what color of case you choose. So I wouldn't really think of the colors as a real factor when choosing an iPad. Now, the new iPad Airs that were released this year in 2022 now have the M1 chip, and that is amazing. That's basically an iPad Pro. Now, what I'm thinking about is what is Apple going to come out with next for the iPad Pros, because now the Air is basically a Pro. You can't call it a Pro because it's an Air, but it will work just as well or better as some previous Pros. If you can afford an Air, so one step up from the regular iPad, I think that you're going to be really happy and you're gonna feel like you have a Pro. So it's a really good choice, especially for my audience who are usually into digital planning, maybe creating a little bit of stickers and maybe editing some video. I've edited a lot of video in my iPad Air, which does not have the M1 chip, but now you will get the M1 chip on the iPad Air. So that's a great option if you want to end your search here. iPad Air is going to be great. Now, the size of iPad Air is also really convenient. I actually do get to take this with me everywhere. I have it set up with the smart keyboard Folio from Apple. I'll have another whole video going through the keyboards because I have both of Apple's keyboards and I like them both a lot, but they're different. But the point is that I take that iPad with me when I go places. And now I have the iPad mini, but until before that, I would take the iPad Air with me when I travel places. The screen is large enough for you to see detail, to really work, to edit video. I've had no problem doing any of that, and it's still small enough so that you can actually take it in a backpack, in your purse, and it's not very heavy. So it's very portable, it's very powerful, it's a great choice. And of course, it's Apple Pencil 2 compatible, which means that you can just snap the pencil to the side of the iPad. It's gonna charge that way, and as I mentioned before, you're likely never gonna run out of battery because you always have the pencil attached to the iPad and it's charging. If you have a case around the iPad though, make sure that you don't lose the pencil, because then with the case, the magnet will not be as strong and it happens that the pencil falls and then you can start like ruining the tips. And for that, you can use some accessories to cover the tip and protect it a little, or just be careful not to drop it. The next model we are talking about is going to be iPad Pro. iPad Pro, as you probably know, has two models. One is smaller, which is the 11 inches iPad Pro, and the bigger model is 12.9 inches. I've used both sizes and they're actually so super different. As I mentioned, the iPad Pro 11 inches is almost the same as the iPad Air, so the size is pretty much the same. It's a good size, you have plenty of room, you can look at things well, you can edit video, edit photos. It has worked really well for me. I actually used the 11 inches iPad Pro for around 3 years straight. Every single day. I loved it. My planner worked great. All of the apps that I used were working great. The main difference between a Pro and an Air is going to be the speed. So for example, when I'm about to make a new video on my iPad Air, I have to first import my footage. So I connect this little dongle to my iPad where I have my SD card connected, and then I can start importing my video. When I do this on iPad Air, I usually have enough time to go downstairs to my kitchen, prepare myself a drink, have a little sip of my tea, then come back up, and maybe the video is still gonna be transferring. But when I do this on my iPad Pro, it's so fast. I might have a little time to get up and stretch my legs, but it's so much faster. So that's where I saw the biggest differences when I'm importing my video. Another thing I've personally noticed when using the M1 iPad Pro is that it doesn't really crash. In very few occasions, I've had an app freeze, and it's kind of like an app issue, not an iPad issue. I haven't really had to hard reboot or anything my iPad. I haven't faced that yet. I do have to close some apps sometimes because they stop responding, but it's not a big deal at all. I haven't really lost information because I had a bad crash or any of that. And I feel like I did have a few apps freeze a little more when using my iPad Air. Again, these are very subtle details and things that you're never going to realize about until you're using both iPads side by side. So far I feel like iPad Air is winning because it's a lot more affordable and it works almost as great. And again, that was before the M1 chip was even introduced. Our next model is going to be iPad Pro 12.9 inches. Little disclaimer, this has been my favorite iPad ever. I didn't get it at first because I thought that the screen was so large. I didn't need all that. It's like a whole laptop and it's really heavy, that's true. But once I started using it, you could see everything bigger. You feel like you have more room. I remember when I started using split view, I had my planner on one side and my stickers on the other side, and I just liked how much space I had. Everything looked bigger and very clear, and of course the image quality is amazing. So that's a really good iPad. Like if you can afford it, and again, if you're going to be creating content or multimedia, editing photos, editing videos, then yes, of course, the iPad Pro with the larger screen is going to be your best option. So the large iPad Pro is my favorite iPad. However, I have a very big complaint against it. It's not a complaint, it's just something that does not work for me at all, and that is I don't take it anywhere. I keep it with my Magic Keyboard at all times, mostly because I don't want to be switching cases. So what I have is I have a stand on my desk. So whenever I don't want to use the keyboard, I take it out of the keyboard, which is really easy because it just attaches magnetically. So it's really easy to take it off of the keyboard and then put it on my stand. This is an awesome stand, by the way. It's super sturdy and perfect for the iPad Pro. I'm gonna link it below if you want to take a look. But I always keep my iPad Pro attached to the Magic Keyboard case, and that is so heavy. I have never put it on a scale, but guys, it's heavy and it's so big. It doesn't really fit easily on even my backpack. I don't really want to travel with it or take it anywhere. As I said before getting the mini, I would take my iPad Air instead because it's a lot smaller and a lot lighter, and I would take it with the other keyboard, the Smart Folio. So yeah, that is something to think about if you actually want to be taking your iPad places. And you should want to take it places because this is not a laptop, this is a tablet. You should be able to move it, you know, to different places. But the large iPad Pro is pretty big and heavy, especially if you attach the Magic Keyboard. So that's just something to consider. The smaller Pro as well as the Air are also compatible with the Magic Keyboard, so you can still get all of the advantages of the trackpad and the Magic Keyboard, but in a smaller format, so just consider that. The next and last iPad is iPad mini. I just got this one recently and I'm so in love. It's so cute, it's so small and it's very light, which I kind of wasn't expecting it to be as portable as it is, which was the whole point, but I was used to the heavier iPads, so when I got it, I was surprised at how small and light it actually was. If you want to be taking your iPad everywhere, then the mini is the one you need. Now, Apple doesn't make keyboards for this iPad, which I think is a shame, because if you were able to use like the Smart Keyboard Folio with the iPad mini, it would be such a complete device. So I did get a couple of small keyboards to try out with the iPad mini, and they're pretty good. They're super portable. They're a little bit strange to use because they're so compact, but they work really well. In my opinion, you should always use a keyboard with your iPad, and again, I'm gonna go over all of this in a separate video, but once you have a keyboard, you can do different things that you cannot do on the iPad's built-in keyboard, and those things will be using shortcuts. Sometimes you can use the arrows to nudge your objects, and these are things that you cannot do with the keys that pop up on the screen of the iPad. So you get extra features and you can be a little more productive if you use a keyboard with your iPad. I would say the iPad mini is almost as capable as the iPad Air, so you can do everything. You can use it for the basic features, of course, internet, email, consuming content, social media, but you can definitely also use it to edit video, to edit photos. You can do all those things. However, having the screen so small, I feel could maybe not be the greatest if you are doing these tasks often. If you are constantly editing photos or video or doing anything that requires you to actually look at the screen, then maybe iPad mini is not the best for you. I would suggest to go for an Air instead with the bigger screen. I would never tell you that you need two iPads, but my personal way of working right now is with the big iPad Pro and with the small iPad mini. I literally take the mini with me everywhere. It's not even heavy, so I don't really even feel it when I have it in my bag. And I have this little handle thing, so when I'm laying on bed, I can like take it and read as if it was a book or a Kindle, but it's an iPad. So I love that because since I have it with me all the time, I can of course always be updating my planner here. But if I want to do something more advanced, I also have all of my other apps installed. I have my Apple Pencil attached right here all the time, so I can just grab it and start designing. So those are my main thoughts on the different iPad models. I hope that this video gives you a little bit of a better idea on which model will be best for you. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up to let me know. And if you haven't done it yet, don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell so you know when there's a new video out. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.